The mortar is still pounding everything screwed. They'll demolish us to pieces.
Ukrainian Air Force combat aircraft executed a bombing strike on an enemy facility in the village of Tyotkino, Kursk region, targeting a hangar housing enemy armored vehicles and personnel. A multi-role MiG-29 fighter jet executed the strike. The bombing was carried out using GBU-62 Jdam ER air bombs, marking an increase in the frequency of precision strikes in Ukraine's arsenal. Intelligence recorded how the enemy drove a pair of armored personnel carriers and armored combat vehicles into the hangar at night. With the growing number of guided air bombs, Ukrainian forces are increasingly targeting enemy positions and even personnel, including more frequent strikes on Russian territory. On February 25th, Ukrainian aviation conducted a bombing strike on the Trobortnoy border checkpoint in the Bryansk region, where enemy personnel, communication equipment, and electronic warfare systems were concentrated. Then, on February 27th, aviation struck the neighboring point Belaya Berezka, where a communication and control point of Russian troops was deployed. This strike notably diminished the enemy's ability to control forces and assets in the region. Aircraft from the 40th Tactical Aviation Brigade executed both airstrikes. A Russian complains that fighting near Novokakhovka on the Kherson front is extremely difficult. He says they're being attacked with everything imaginable: cluster munitions, mortars, drones, claiming it's the first time he's ever faced such hell in his life.
What do you say, damn it? The mortar is still pounding everything screwed. They'll demolish us to pieces. This is the first time for me. It's crazy. We're screwed. Just the two of us again with the group. His legs got smashed. Flew onto me, damn it. Basically there. In the collarbone, basically. Damn, this is so intense. It's my first time. Cassettes, everything is at us. Medkits, Baba Yagas, damn it. I don't know how we're still alive. Just something, fool. No, I don't know yet. Maybe we'll still die. Damn. Everything is flying. Ah, damn.
Some Russian channels do not believe that the cessation of U.S. aid to Ukraine will lead to a collapse of the front, as Ukraine produces the necessary weapons to hold the line, thanks to financial assistance from Europe. They argue that a collapse becomes more likely if Ukrainian society becomes divided. In this sense, the Trump administration's intentions, including talks with the so-called opposition, become clearer: to fragment Ukrainian society, provoke elections, and make it easier for Russia to impose its will. I think the cessation of U.S. arms supplies to Ukraine won't change anything globally, just as the absence of Abrams, Bradleys, and ATACMS didn't fundamentally change anything either. They weren't on the battlefield from February 2022. They arrived later and didn't bring Ukraine any radical breakthroughs. Ukraine produces most of its key strike units itself. The crucial thing is to maintain funding for the local defense industry. Europe should have enough money for that. They'll gather some percentage from Russia's frozen assets, tighten their belts, maybe even double the funding. And Russia will keep fighting for 1, 2, 3 years. By then, maybe the Eurocrats and company will outlast Trump as well. Ukraine is not in a hopeless situation. A frontline collapse could happen if there's a severe shortage of weapons and if Ukraine's political class fractures. But I don't see any fragmentation. On the contrary, there seems to be unity. So the key factor here is Zrada, betrayal, which is hard to predict. Let's see if I'm right. But in any case, remember this tweet. This is what Sudzha looks like today. Russian drone operators filmed a video of the half-destroyed city. As of March 9, 2025, the conflict in the Kursk region has intensified, with Ukrainian forces maintaining a resilient presence despite escalating Russian offensives. The strategic town of Sudzha has become a focal point, paradoxically suffering destruction at the hands of Russian forces, despite being a Russian city. In August 2024, Ukrainian troops launched a significant incursion into Russia's Kursk region, capturing approximately 1,300 square kilometers, including the town of Sudzha. This operation aimed to shift the dynamics of the prolonged conflict and create leverage for potential negotiations. Russian forces have since intensified efforts to reclaim lost territories. In a recent maneuver, Russian special forces utilized a gas pipeline to infiltrate Ukrainian positions near Sudzha, aiming to surprise and dislodge the entrenched Ukrainian troops. However, Ukrainian forces detected the infiltration and responded with rockets and artillery, resulting in significant Russian casualties. Despite these efforts, Ukrainian forces have managed to counter Russian attacks, leveraging drones and other defensive measures to maintain their positions. However, the situation remains precarious, with Ukrainian officials acknowledging the temporary nature of current stability on the front line and anticipating renewed Russian offensives. The paradox of Sudzha's destruction lies in the fact that Russian forces have been bombarding their own city with guided aerial bombs, artillery, and kamikaze drones. Russia intends to test Western unity, especially with regard to NATO's collective defense clause, according to Bruno Kahl, the head of Germany's BND intelligence service. In an interview with Deutsche Welle broadcaster, he said Russia was considering testing the reliability of NATO's Article 5, which states that an attack on one ally must be treated as an attack on all. We very much hope this is not true, and that we will not be put in the difficult position of it being tested. However, we must assume that Russia wants to test us, to put the unity of the West to the test, Kahl said. The timing of a Russian test of NATO's collective defense clause depends on the course of the war in Ukraine, according to Kahl. If the war ends earlier than 2029 or 2030, this would enable Russia to use its technical, material, and personnel resources to build up a threat against Europe sooner, he noted. It is also possible that a concrete threat or blackmail attempt from Russia against Europeans could occur earlier than previously calculated, Kahl said. An early end to the war in Ukraine would enable the Russians to direct their energy where they actually want it, namely against Europe. Kahl said, Russia envisions a future world order resembling the situation in Europe in the late 1990s, with NATO's protective presence pushed back and Russia's sphere of influence expanding westward, ideally without an American presence in Europe. Ukraine receives Romanian CA-95 air defense systems, Defense Express reports. The CA-95 is a copy of the Soviet Strela 1 system. While the exact number delivered is unknown, Romania has 48 in service.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.